let's get to...
This is the page. So he actually goes to the website that I told you earlier. I wasn't going to go to because this is really no information. But this is the page.
Progressive Caucus.
And it lists her down here.
They have decided to back Shontel Brown. Now, this, of course, is the caucus that is led by Pramila Jayapal, Mark Pocan, Jamie Raskin. And this, of course, is a horrible choice. But it's not at all surprising because Shontel Brown is a part of this caucus. She's a part of the so-called Progressive Caucus. A candidate, I'll get to more on this later, but a candidate that took Republican money is a member of the Democratic Progressive Caucus, which she joined a month after joining the business-friendly New Dem coalition. Shontel Brown is a member of both.
How is that
And just
possible?
to make sure, I looked this up. This is the Progressive Caucus page, Shontel Brown. Here is the New Dem Coalition page, Shontel Brown. Two groups that are diametrically opposed to each other. Shontel Brown is a member of both. Can you guess which side she actually fights for? Well, of course, the money she takes, as I'll get to, tells you. But this, so she joined. This.
So he makes a good point. So give credit where credit's due. He does make a good point here that I didn't make, which was she's a part of both caucuses. No person with progressive values would join the corporate caucus. No person would do that. No leftist, no progressive or leftist would do that. So either she's pretending, you get what I'm saying? Like, if you're a member of both and they're opposites, one of them you have to be pretending, and the other one is actually you. There's no reason to be actually a progressive or leftist and then pretend to be corporate. There's no reason to do that. Nobody is saying, I want to vote for a corporate candidate. But there is a reason to be corporate and to act like you're progressive, because that's the end thing that all the peasants are into. Which to me makes it worse. Why what Pramila Jayapal doing this makes this worse, or the Progressive Caucus doing this makes it worse. Now, the reason I keep saying Pramila, because Pramila is the chair. You're the chair. So you knew, if anybody knew this was coming down, you knew this was coming down. So when they made that announcement, you should have been out tweeting, I'm for just like Bernie Sanders. What infuriates me about the Progressive Caucus, it's not intellectually or politically consistent. None of the so-called progressives, the squads, you're not consistently progressive. You're so inconsistent with your voting. You're so inconsistent in where you stand, who you support. And that's the point. All right. I know I have neglected the chat for a while. So chat check real quick. Dole is trying to make Democrats fun to root for again. Nina Turner, I'm trying to think if there's another. Nina Turner quite possibly could be the only candidate. I'm not going to say that. All right. So let's continue. So David Nato, that's his nickname. Force a vote was weak sauce and the establishment went haywire. Unreal. So, I already put that one up. Let's go to the next one. Definitely distance yourself from Dole. That's why force a vote was such a good idea, David. It would have made it harder for pseudo progressives to hide out in. This is such a fucking great point that I did not think of. This is a great point. That's why force a vote was such a good idea. It would have made it harder for pseudo progressives to hide out in caucus pretending that they were for Medicare for all. And you know what? Have we ever, maybe somebody put this forward. Have we ever thought the reason, has anybody ever articulated or discussed at any length, the reason the squad wasn't for force to vote is that it would have shown that they're not really for Medicare for all. I'm not saying all of them, but it would have showed that all of the squad, the so-called squad, is not for Medicare for all. Maybe that's why they didn't force her hand on it. If somebody brought that point up, kudos to you, because I just thought of that. Yeah, so let's listen to some more of Mr. Dole.
This is Politics 101. Shontel Brown joined the Progressive Caucus a day before, this is on January 25th, a day before Nina Turner announced her run against Shontel Brown this year. So Nina announced on the 26th. Shontel Brown, of course, got word of that, joined on the 25th.
So Shontel Brown joins the Progressive Caucus on January 25th. Do you know not a week later, Pramila Jayapal is tweeting about her being a co-sponsor? That's fishy to me. You mean a week later, Shontel Brown, this corporate candidate, proved to you that she's progressive? And why does it, if there's two progressives running, why does the Progressive Caucus have to endorse the sitting incumbent if both of them are progressive? Let's continue here with David.
It is just, this was done purely as a way to undermine her re-election or her rematch with Nina Turner in this primary. Absolutely disgusting. Now, to be clear here, there apparently there's no barriers to anybody joining these caucuses. So,
and that's what I mentioned earlier. Like, there has to be. Like, if anyone can join, what's the purpose of having a caucus? What's the purpose of labeling this caucus something if anyone can join, even if they don't believe in the thing that is labeled? At minimum, the Progressive Caucus should have, you can't be a part of the caucus if you take corporate money. That's the minimum threshold. The very minimum should be that.
You know, it's not like, this is my understanding of it, as I believe AOC has complained about this, that anybody can join the Progressive Caucus. Like, more than half the members of the caucus aren't actually progressive. They just want that label. So if they have any challenges from the left, they can fight them in some way and say, hey, I'm a part of the Progressive Caucus. I believe in these things that I'll never actually fight for, but I'll say believe in them just to win this election. And that's ultimately the vast majority of members, I would say, or at least a majority of members in the caucus. It's done purely for political reasons. They don't act.
So David is an astute critique here. The problem is he doesn't apply it to the progressive Democrats. Also, that's the problem.
Election. And that's ultimately the vast majority of members, I would say, or at least a majority of members in the caucus. It's done purely for political reasons. They don't actually care about these issues. And Shontel Brown is the perfect example of that, being a member of both. Now,
commercial.
Now, just to be clear here, just because the Progressive Caucus has endorsed Shontel Brown does not mean that the squad is endorsing Shontel Brown. It doesn't mean
So I didn't know he was going to be coming out here preemptively defending the squad. Is that what he's about to do? He's about to preemptively defend the squad. Let's see. That's what he does here.
Doesn't mean every member of the caucus is endorsing Shontel Brown. So they have voiced their frustration with the Progressive Caucus before, namely during the fight over the infrastructure bill, how eventually the leadership of the caucus caved to support the infrastructure bill before there was ever a vote on Build Back Better. So of course, that, you know, many videos on that back then. You can go watch that if you want to recap on what happened there. But
did they really cave if most of them are corporate Democrats? You see the fucking game. Progressive caves. They didn't cave. Or they did cave, but most of them are not progressives. So you have a bunch of corporate Democrats in the Progressive Caucus who just agreed to do the same thing. Who agreed to go along with the plan of voting for one bill and not the other. But we think there's progressives and leftists in Congress fighting for us. We have people like Pramila Jayapal who does stuff like this. We have people like AOC who votes for an Iron Dome. We have people who abstain from voting Nancy Pelosi, which allows her to be a speaker. Like, people who support the squad, how are you not disappointed every single day? Like, I would be disappointed every single day in these people.